No,
I
we
didn't do
do
just that one. I'm
Call the
not
meeting
bad.
to
Well, that's what's on your head.
Oh,
Call to
there
order,
it
the
is.
first item we got on our agenda is the DCN reopening plan. Who do I turn that over to?
Yeah, we can get her going right here. Mrs. Bussey put it up on the board, so if any of you don't have it on your screens, we'll have it up here. I can get you a copy of it if you'd like also. First page deals with just our cover page. The first one is from what I just put together. I would send out a new letter with the original plan once it's approved. Second page goes through all of your stuff with your who's what and the health and what this is. And then getting into the third page where it goes COVID-19 spreads where people are relatively close proximity through respiratory droplets generated through coughing, sneezing, talking, infected person. Most effective measures include masks, face coverings, physical distance, hand washing, cleaning, frequently touched surfaces. So we go through and we look at health screening. So what we're asking is, well, first of all, as you read through the plan, make sure that you understand we're in Plan B, in-person instruction with restrictions. And please know that it's fluid, it might change tomorrow. I think
What
the
color
governor-
would that be, Mike? Green.
Green. Yep,
Thank
we're
you.
in green. It might change tomorrow. Bergam has a press conference, I think, at 3:30 tomorrow.
Okay.
He may go to yellow, and that's been kind of the talk, is that if the cases stayed up, he may move to the yellow. So know that what you're approving right now, we're starting in green, and that is with restrictions. If it goes to yellow, this would tell us what we're gonna do in yellow. If it goes to orange or red, then we go to the remote. But know that right now, what we're talking about, all this is part of our plan, but we're starting in Plan B. We're starting in green with the Plan B, in-person instruction with restrictions.
But we're approving the whole.
We're approving the whole plan. You're not approving that we're in green. You're approving the whole plan. Just know that what we're looking at starting in is green.
And just be aware, some of the orange, some of the red items aren't there yet, because we would need to meet again
Yep,
as a team
to
and
get those in place, yep.
figure out more.
Okay, so going into the health screenings, talking about what parents should do to not send your child if you're exhibiting a fever of 104, or you have 2 or more of the symptoms, which is fatigue, headache, muscle body aches, chills, cough, shortness of breath, sore throat, congestion, runny nose, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal pain, or loss of taste and smell. Understand that if a child gets sent here and one of the teachers or administrators or anybody sees that they're exhibiting more than 2 or more of those symptoms, they will be sent home. Any individual with 104 should not be in school, and we'll provide temperature checks. We'll not be providing them on arrival, but we will have temperature checks throughout the day if we need them. And then there'll be a checklist of registration that you understand our health and safety plan. Face coverings, 0 tolerance, they'll be provided by the families. I do have face masks ordered. Mrs. Bussey's got some clear ones coming too, I believe, for the elementary staff.
Yep.
Okay, and we do have some Bison, or we do have BCN, not embroidered, they'll just have our logo on them, and every face mask. We're gonna get enough of them, so if families wanna buy them, if the board decides, they decide we're just gonna give them out, we can do that too. But we'll have enough so that if families wanna purchase and have the same BCN face covering, they can do that. They're to be washed daily, but understand that might not always happen, but don't be alarmed, because we did talk to a doctor that said, you know, if they're sneezing and whatever else, and a nice little mucus buildup and they're never heard of anything anyway, so that'll probably prevent it from moving further. So he said, don't be afraid of that. He said that would be something that they'll eventually do, because the kid's gonna get it, want it washed. Okay, we're gonna require them on the bus, any transition between classes, when they use the bathroom, when they're attending class outside of their designated class group, anytime they're in the hallways, anytime they're in moving, the only time they can take them off is in the classroom and then when they eat. And then the teacher's discretion in the classroom for short periods of time. So if a high school student needs to leave their desk, they should mask. If they have to go talk to the teacher or whatever, or have to do something, they should make sure they mask before they, or cover before they go. Hygiene, hand washing, soap and water, hand sanitizer, used the following times: arrival at school, before and after eating, after using the bathroom, before and after handling facial coverings, playing outdoors, prior to switching rooms or locations, and before dismissal. Now, Mike had a question about, should we have them doing it when they get on the bus? We can have, I talked to Bud, we could probably get some hand sanitizer on the bus. And when it's nice out, they could probably do it, but when they're coming with their gloves and mittens and whatever else in the wintertime, you know, do we want them pulling off and wiping and, you know, doing all that stuff? So I think that could be part of it, that we could step it up if we feel that's necessary. I don't know if we want to say it in the plan, because we might not be able to accomplish it at all times. But we could really focus in on, when we have the meetings with the kids and the parents or whatever, that they should wash their hands before they leave the house. And then when they get on the bus should be clean, and then they'll disinfect again. So, and then on the way out, they'll do it here before they get on the bus. So if we're okay with that, and we can talk about that too later on, but that would be what we're recommending. Cleaning and disinfecting, staff will perform their routine cleaning duties on the high-touch areas, door handles, desks, tables, chairs throughout the day. Non-irritating disinfectants will be used, so we don't trigger any breathing issues. The custodians have been putting together some sprays. They're getting paper towels, because I don't think we're going to be able to find very many Clorox wipes to utilize, because we're running short on them right now, and they're all on back order. So we're trying to collect as many paper towels and things like that as we can, and they have the spray bottles and everything ready to go. Protecting vulnerable populations of students and staff. We'll consider the special health and education needs of students that are considered high risk due to pre-existing conditions and make them more vulnerable due to COVID-19. Students with current plans such as IEP 504s will be viewed and updated to decrease their risks, and empowering students and families and staff to self-identify high risk for severe illness due to COVID-19. Consider requests for alternative learning plans or reassignments. Physical distancing, we're going to work to have a minimum of 6 feet between students and staff together for more than 15 minutes outside of each individual classroom. If our students and staff are unable to maintain physical distancing, face covering should be worn, and additional strategies will be used to reinforce physical distancing. So we're looking at classroom configurations. We've got some set up. I know Mrs. Bollingberg was working down in there to make sure she's got working on physical distancing down in her room, and we're looking at, you know, how we can configure our seating and everything else to make sure that we're trying to physical distance as well as possible. Students, we're trying to keep them in groups so that if there is an exposure, we can contact trace a little easier. Elementary won't be real difficult. If it happens in a classroom, that whole classroom is going to be quarantined. If it happens in a high school, they'd have to determine who's at risk. We look at, you know, the high risk activities, singing, exercising, things like that. We need to make sure that we're cognizant of that. We try to utilize the outdoors with weather permitting. We know that the first few weeks we might be able to get outside. After that, it gets a little chilly, so we might not be able to have our kids outside all the time. We're going to, no field trips, no assemblies, no large group gatherings here at the school. Limit non-essential visitors, and then reduce the number of students in the common area. Okay, and educating students in any and all environments. We plan to prepare for the continuum of 4 learning stages during the 2021 school year in line with North Dakota K-12 Smart Restart. School district will provide students with learning plans throughout the school year. Students at any time may be required to quickly transition from one plan to another. Any student that will not be attending school in person to begin the school year will be placed in a remote learning plan. And we're working on the learning plan right now. We're working with some schools here in the southeast to work with Arizona State University to put together a remote learning plan. If a child jumps in on that, they'll be in it for
A quarter for elementary.
and a semester for the high school. Okay, so they'll have to commit to that. So Plan A, and that's no restrictions, and we're not there yet. Plan B is with restrictions, and you can see what it just talks about some of the restrictions. And it's, no field trips, and we'll utilize our alternative spaces as we can and reduce mixing of student groups if we can. If for some reason we go to yellow, which is the hybrid, we would have to ensure that everybody is 6 feet apart. So in the classrooms, we'd have to make sure we have the 6 foot spacing. In the green that we're in, we don't necessarily have to have it. We should have at least 3 feet. 6 feet is optimal. But if we go to the hybrid, we're gonna have to go to 6 feet, and then we may have to do A-B groupings where we bring different kids in on different days. And so that would be depending on how we did it. We more than likely would have to do 2 days for group A, 2 days for group B, and use Wednesdays, Fridays. We haven't really talked about that. You know, that would be another one. We'd have to, like I said, we'd have to get the team together again to discuss how we would want to do that. And then remote learning, obviously, that would be if we have somebody that we have to go to remote. I believe they said if we have 2 in 14 days, we have to quarantine the school for 14 days. So then that would be, we go to remote. And what we'll need to do is before we leave tonight, we're gonna have to have somebody, have a committee designated to go over the online learning plan, because we just need to update that, and then we'd approve that next week at the meeting on Wednesday night. So we just have to not redo it, but we just have to update some of the things in it. So I think everything went pretty smoothly. We've got some changes we'd like to propose and whatever, but we need board members on there to make those revisions and then bring it back to the board for formal approval of the new plan. But that would be what the remote learning we go to. And we believe communication between parents, families, school district will strengthen educational opportunities, experiences, and outcomes. We'll communicate important information in clear, consistent, timely manner so our students and families have the information they need. Monthly newsletters, email listservs, our website, our Facebook, BCN Bison, our LMS of Seesaw and Schoology, and instant alert or phone notifications. And then what we're proposing is that all employees in the school will attend training the week of the 17th to the 24th. We were supposed to start the 17th. What we're proposing is that 17th we'll use in-service, 18 we'll use in-service, and 19 and 20 we're possibly looking at digital training for our teachers that would, in case we have to go remote. It talks about how to do digital things, and that would be if we ever have to go out or if we ever have to go all the way to remote learning. And ASU is putting that training on, so we need to talk a little bit more about that as the staff and see if that's something we want to do and have them prepared for that. Friday the 21st would be another in-service day. 24th, we have an in-service with the Southeast schools in Valley City. We've got keynotes at 8 o'clock and at 2 o'clock. And from 10 to 2, we will have the health experts meeting over Zoom, be like Teresa Will, Dr. Burr and Dr. Deagle would be the ones I think are going to be there to give input on what we need to do and the things we need to do in the school system.
So Mike, if you don't do the digital training through ASU on those 2 days, what is your plan if you don't?
It's different for
Yeah.
both of us.
Yeah, then they would, if they're
I
not
have
going
it
to
all
do that.
mapped out with what we're doing already, so I would just shift those to different times.
Okay. So you guys
So-
actually have a plan, so it's not.
I can't speak for him, but
Yeah, and it's what, as you know, I mean, it's not, they're not gonna be busy, you know, from 8 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon. They're gonna have some breaks, but they've got it kind of mapped out what they want to do, and we've got,
I can
we've got,
show her just this.
we'll have to bring, we'll have to have the custodians and talk about what they need to do. We'll talk about what the cooks need to do, bus
Okay.
drivers, those types of things would come in at different points throughout that week.
So we have different things like, and we've talked about the virtual training after, so I would just put some of these in. So we would do the bird information training. There's Prometheus training with Mrs. Betts. We're gonna do a virtual one until she can get in here. I have use this time to watch Seesaw or Schoology training videos because they have awesome websites for that, but teachers don't necessarily have time to do it on their own, or where they can meet and see. We're doing priority standards and how to track them online or on their LMS. I talked to Krista about mentor information, so what are we going to do with our mentees since we're not probably going to meet face to face. I asked Mrs. King and Mrs. Smith to do mental health mindfulness session. So as you can see, I built it up. Monday is blank right now because we were waiting to hear back from
benefits people and
Yeah.
if they're gonna come or if they're not, or what they're
So,
doing there.
and then I have, like, we're analyzing data that Friday. That's something we had talked about, so we can place groups and prioritize the students. And then, like I said, when you are not scheduled for a session, you'll be working in your room, doing all that fun stuff. And then I just ask them to, like, go through and log into the iPads for the Gmail accounts, so the kids are already logged in. Because we're using email accounts, even with the little kids, because then you don't have to toggle between specials. You probably will have no idea what I'm talking about unless you're a parent that has a kid that had to toggle between, but it was horrible last spring, so we're signing everybody in with an email, so that way it's all there. So I have that for them to do. But that's just a sample plan. Have to communicate with Mr. Wilson because some of this is all staff too, and then he can fill in.
Yeah, the only real difference, and I'm sure she'll give her staff some time, is, for the start, pushing back to the 31st, because not only are the teachers gonna have to prepare for the face-to-face stuff, but they also have to start planning for the blended learning, and then when we go all out, back to the online stuff. So they really are essentially gonna have 3 things that they're gonna have to start preparing for, that, yeah, this week we're face-to-face, but next week it could change so that that transition's smooth and that it's not there, that they've had that time. Because it is gonna take them quite a bit of time to go through and, okay, this is what I'm doing face-to-face now, okay, blended 2 days, I have the students, the other 3 days they're online, or however that's gonna come when we switch to all online, how is that gonna go? So they're gonna need quite a bit of time to prepare for hopefully something that never happens, but chances are it's going to. So the better we are prepared to do that, the easier that transition is for our students.
Does this change the school calendar at all?
Yes,
So.
that's what we're gonna talk about.
About extra contracted days?
That has to be talked about by that, we'll have to discuss that. And then the 25th, 26th, and 27th, I think you mentioned the 21st, it would be that day they would do the assessment of which kids are,
Yep.
or we're just gonna, I think we're talking about
We'll
7.
send out letters to parents about which days their kids will be coming to school to assess and then learn their technology, get to know the teacher in small groups.
And then 20, yep, that'd be those 3 days.
Yep.
And then the Friday would be the teacher would meet and assess, do the data on the 28th to get everything in line ready for the start date on the 31st.
You've got professional development on the 28th with Val, is that switched?
28th and 24th.
You have it on your
You have those
calendars
28.
though. The calendars you sent out, it says 28th
28th?
is in Valley.
That's what you got
No,
on
the
the calendar?
24th should be valid, that's, and that was really,
You have virtual
Yeah,
professional
virtual
development
professional
on the
development,
24th.
24th is virtual, yep, that's the one with the end service with Valley City, that's the one. The 28th says it's there too.
Just on the calendar.
And
The
this calendar-
28th, yeah, 28th should just be in service here.
Yep. That's,
Yeah, there shouldn't be, that's not virtual, that's here at DCN. And so then the 31st would be the first day with all students in the building. Okay, then the next part talks about if a student shows signs of COVID, school personnel, the parents will be contacted, child will be picked up immediately. Child wearing face covering sent to door 3, and we're going over here.
Music room. Is that right there?
Is that door 3? Yeah. And then that's where they'll be picked up, so the parent will come there. We'll have somebody supervising so that the child will be out there, and then once they pick them up, and then we just let us know that you're taking them, and then the child will be released and can return to school when they meet the requirements. And again, that is, if they're showing symptoms, they need to be out. If they're still showing symptoms and want to come back, they're going to have to go to their primary physician and get a note saying this is not COVID, this is a cold, a typical cold, and then they'll be allowed back in the building. Busing, the BCA, it's up there, what do we got? Regularly scheduled bus routes. Anything in there that we talked about?
I think the biggest one is that you have a pick up
One
and
stop.
drop off at one location.
Yep. That'd be the only that we changed, because we want to keep, for contract tracing purposes, we want to keep those kids on the same route, so that we're not getting on in the morning in Jamestown and riding the Wimbledon bus at night.
What
So,
happens if they have a different stop on the same route?
we're discussing that right now. We're discussing
I had a
that.
parent ask me about that.
Last week it was decided it doesn't matter. They have one pickup location, one drop-off location.
And that was because we
I was outvoted on that, that's how I know that.
Yeah, because I had a parent ask
Yeah.
me about it yesterday in the park. They're like, you know how.
The
hard
only,
this is
the
to
only
get across?"
consideration would be is if there's not another stop. If they're getting off,
No.
you know, like it wouldn't be, if you wouldn't, like, if you're going down somewhere down by Spiritwood and you got to drive a mile off the route to do it. That'd be the only consideration that we've even talked about. If it leaves the route, there's no discussion, then it's no, we cannot do it. So if
That's
this,
not what was discussed.
I don't think
Yeah.
that was discussed.
No.
Because this is like.
One pickup, one drop-off, no exceptions.
okay,
That's
That's-
what, that's what.
If
That's where we get you, that's where we leave you.
That
Yep.
get on and Wheel or Daisy,
Yep.
but they're both regular stops, and Wheel or Daisy.
It doesn't matter, we have one pickup, one drop-off.
so they have to get up, then, so if it's grandma that they're dropping off at, grandma would have to meet them at that spot. So. Okay, technology, for online students to be given to families registration, assigned to on-campus students on the 25th, 26th, 27th. Device to be cleared prior to distribution, and then if we switch to online learning, they will have those. Breakfast and lunch, elementary, are we gonna, was that delivered? Is that what we're doing?
Elementary breakfast is going to be delivered.
Okay, that's what I
High
thought.
school's going to grab.
Yeah, high school come in, grab theirs,
Yeah.
go to their homeroom, elementaries will be delivered to them.
Breakfast will be.
So breakfast is.
Don't watch me type, I'm nervous. And grab and go for high school. That students will eat in their classroom/homeroom.
All right, you should be delivered breakfast.
Breakfast will be delivered to elementary classrooms and grab and go for high school. That students will eat in their classroom homeroom.
And then elementary
And
breakfast
then
will
they'll
be
move
delivered.
to
Oh.
their first hour class after they homeroom.
Well, for.
Their
well,
first hour class, they're good.
It should
never
say
has been.
classroom first hour
Yeah,
class.
because the homeroom was always in the afternoon, right, or around the lunchtime, right?
That's my
Yeah.
fix.
Awesome, okay. Other consideration would be just eating lunch in classrooms, food being delivered, depending on where we're at, you know, with the restrictions. And then it goes on to your frequently asked questions,
Okay, wait, so let's go to lunches and
Yeah.
lunchroom.
okay?
So we're gonna take all the elementary and put them out in the common area for lunch.
Well, pre-K 2 is out there.
Yeah, two different groups.
And so pre-K will be a group socially distanced from K, socially distanced from first.
And then how do you do the next?
The same.
And the high school is equally socially distanced?
Yes. So
High school
we'll
was-
have seniors, juniors, sophomores eating at one time, and then we'll do 9th through 7th graders eating at another time.
Because there's no, because if you bring it in any more than that, then you are not gonna be able to do any contract tracing, like, they get much closer. So, okay, I didn't realize that, when we talked before, I thought it was K through 6 gonna be in one month, and then, okay, no,
They've never ate together,
No.
I guess, I'm sorry if you got that impression.
That's what I understood, 2 shifts, and it was gonna be elementary, high school.
Oh,
But-
Question on the,
We're not done.
for the lunch, where it says salad bar items will be proportioned,
yeah.
are we still doing that? Because we talked about having
We
teachers
talked about it,
group it,
but,
which,
I mean, it's either that, or we hire somebody to serve it, or they could route it a different way. I said if it can be proportioned, and I told her, but I know it'll add an extra cost to it, but I said it would be a lot better for them to be able to grab it and not have to serve it to them.
agreed. I just want to make sure that we
And I
didn't
know
over,
that one parent read this as prepackaged and or pre-portioned, their children are going to start. But the kids can go back for another portion, it's just something easy that they can grab and not have to have it served to them.
Right. And well,
So,
that and kids tend to take 3, 4, 5 helpings
Yeah.
of yogurt versus,
they're very generous.
yeah.
Would be nice. if
I get
portion them.
I get how we say pre-portioned, it makes it seem like
Well,
you know.
if you actually follow the guidelines, it's supposed to be pre-portioned. It's not supposed to be a free-for-all.
So, yeah, that's still, like I told her, if it's easily bought pre-portioned, I guess I'm gonna turn into a budget,
That's
but.
what we-
That one would actually really, that would be
Yeah.
super expensive, it would be almost cheaper to hire somebody to put the portions in a cup than it would be to buy the stuff packaged.
Depending on how much is wasted between
Legit.
people dropping spoons in there and digging them out and,
No, but I meant if somebody in the kitchen
Yeah,
actually put
pre-portioned
together
is going to
everything
cost
out
a
there.
lot of money,
Yeah.
like individual applesauce cups per ounce or whatever is going to be more than a jar of applesauce that you pour into cups.
I can't believe you can't find time to do that in a kitchen.
well,
With
I was told that no one will come in for a couple hours to do that.
But I'm saying with 4 people in the kitchen, you would think that it's more they
Yeah, you would think so.
could maneuver their time to make that happen.
I know. I mean, if you guys want to hire, we could probably find somebody. I had 8 applicants for their position.
But I think we're
Yeah,
getting,
but
I think our
we're-
point
yeah.
is it should be able to be covered. I
And
think
get
is the
that.
point.
I'm just saying it from the other side too. It's all
So.
up to you guys and what you want, so.
Yeah.
Just saying it should be doable, I think
Yeah.
is what everyone is saying. Or at least this quarter, everyone is saying.
As the case is with the whole document, you know, it's a living document. You know, as we get to this, there are adjustments that we're gonna realize that are more efficient as we get in and start doing these things. And I think the lunch part will be a major one, because I had already talked to Kim about, you know, for the high school ones, that if, rather than them going up a second time for seconds, if they know that they're gonna want seconds, they're able to get that right then and there of the main dish, rather than having to come in and go through it again to save up on some of that time.
And we're not doing meals for at-home students. So if they opt for online, they opt knowing that. You're thinking something.
I am, I'm just thinking about some of those kids that might be staying home might need a meal, just saying. We're
Then that
We're
would-
too-
that
we're-
would-
we're
School and
too-
get it.
Yeah, that would go back to, you could either have, then they have to come here to get it. I mean, we wouldn't deny them if they came. But that would kind of defeat the
Yeah,
purpose of being
kind of defeat
online.
the pur- yeah.
We'd have to hire somebody that would be in charge of delivering, making sure it's there, delivering, and then run into one down there and one up here and one over there. And that would be the distance that we have to travel, would probably restrict who we could serve. And we're, like I said, we'll open it up to if they wanna come, if the parents wanna come and get a meal and take it back to their kids, or if they wanna bring the kids in or whatever, you know, we could work with them on that, but
Yeah, drive-through again?
we could do it.
Oh, can I work that window?
All right, then the frequently asked question, if there's anything else, we'll get to it. Visitor volunteer policy.
I'll do it.
For the fall semester, we're restricting visitors and volunteers to help prevent the spread of COVID. Parents, families intending to enter the school, pick up children, attend the meeting must call ahead before arriving at school, and once they enter the building, they need to have a mask on. Options, if I'm not comfortable sending my kids to school, provide an online learning option, and that we're working with a number of schools to do with Arizona State. And please contact the office, and we've got a survey ready to go out once the plan's approved, to find out and give them, what did we decide a date? that
You
they
didn't
had to-
decide a date yet.
We'll give them a date of when they have to let us know whether they're going online or whether they're gonna be in attendance. And then how often will face coverage be worn? on the bus because we're not able to accommodate social distancing. In school, they must wear their masks in highly traveled common areas. Student is out of their classroom, so anytime they're in the classroom, face coverings are optional. If I choose to send my child to school, if things get worse, can I switch to online distance learning? Our distance learning will not be taught by our Lawrence County North teachers, so with the e-learning model to be determined, it's gonna, you either have to choose one or the other. If we have to social distance and we go to online here at the school, then, or remote learning, then our teachers would teach that through Zoom or whatever
Did we
else.
answer that question in there? They're not able, if they start in school and things get worse, they're not able to
No.
switch out.
Right.
Otherwise,
They can opt to homeschool,
yeah,
or they could opt to do distance learning
not
through
through
like
BCN.
CDE or something like that, but
not through
they wouldn't be
BCN.
able to go through us or through the remote learning that we would be set up with Arizona State.
The other thing they're saying is we had a teacher ask if she could ask her class to mask for her health, right?
Yes.
That's in here.
Right?
Yeah.
Did I miss that?
Yeah, it's on
Under
the
the
mask
face
part,
coverings.
the face coverings.
But it was the one that said for short periods of time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
Oh, okay.
we put for short periods of time because an elementary teacher asking their children to mask, they're with them all day. So in elementary, it might look like if I pull them back for a small group setting for 10 minutes. For high school, it would look different.
Mhm.
Okay, somehow I missed that.
Well, it wasn't in there the last time. Mr. Severson and I talked about language because we didn't want parents to think that an elementary teacher could be like wearing a mask all day long for comfort.
So yeah, we got teacher's discretion in the classroom for short periods of time. And then, class groupings, quarantining, how much work is my child required to complete? Each situation is analyzed by our COVID team with the teacher, the students, if they're exposed and need to, and they can, if a student gets sick or is asked to be out because of quarantining, we would, and they're still able to function, they could Zoom, or we could get them the lesson somehow. Depending on how that all works out, we're still working those details out. But if a teacher were to be quarantined and was not sick, did not show any symptoms, they could get on the Zoom and teach to their class. So if they were the ones that got exposed and got letters saying, you need to quarantine for 14 days, that teacher would be allowed the option of, do I want to teach over Zoom and not use any leave? Or do I want to just take my leave and not teach?
So if they choose to stay at
No,
home and
that's
teach
not
over
their
Zoom?
choice. If they have to quarantine, they have to teach over Zoom.
Not if they're sick.
No, unless they are the ones with COVID.
Yeah, but if they're sick and can't teach
Then
over
we would have to
the
get a
internet,
sub.
yeah.
But wouldn't you need a sub anyway, if you have a teacher that?
If a teacher is sick, we're gonna have a sub.
The whole,
If,
yeah.
Yeah.
if they have to quarantine, this is where it gets tricky, because
Right.
most typically it will probably be the teacher that.
Yep.
But then they can, if somebody's exposed, then they quarantine that grade and they switch to the online. Now here's the difference, online learning versus the e-learning option. Online would be with BCN teacher for the 10 days, 10
Yeah.
school days or 2 days.
It's something we should check. North Dakota is 24 days quarantine.
Are you sure?
No.
If you don't have COVID and somebody in your household does, you're quarantined that 10 days that they have it, and then after that, you're quarantined 14 days. Because we have an employee right now.
Unless you are able to stay in a different location.
Right, but we have an employee right now, he doesn't have it, but his person he lives with does. So it's actually 24 days.
Yeah, it is.
They gotta go through their
Yeah,
10
if you
days
live in the
plus
same-
their
yeah,
14.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But this would be if one of
This
our
would be if
teachers,
it's- Yeah, or a student.
Or if a student's parent
Yeah.
has it at home.
And Brett, that's with a positive test in your home,
Yes.
Yeah.
right? Okay.
And then, of course, those are like situational.
So
So.
so the person that tested positive, they did their 14 days and they started work already? But the
Mhm.
person that didn't test positive, he's still gotta be at home. And he doesn't have it.
Well, and then you talked about some leave. And we'll,
So wrong.
We'll push
Yeah.
out,
yeah,
right,
you don't, you
He
don't
wanted to have it, so
If
he
you,
could
if
get
you
back
have
to it.
COVID.
only if you have COVID, not if you're exposed.
If you're exposed, and then you can still teach over Zoom if you choose. I mean, you would go to Zoom and then you wouldn't use any leave. But if you wanted to use leave, if you wanted to use your sick leave, you could.
Yeah.
and the thing about being home as a student like that, if they're exposed, they'll have their device, they'll have CSUN and Schoology and stuff will be pushed out to them,
So are students taking it home with them every night, or how is that gonna work?
I
Or is
mean,
that something that just
It's
someone
been
picked up?
discussed, but I definitely, after last spring, where they're like Sunday night, hey, I think we should allow them. I mean, I guess this
They
is,
do already.
it will not.
Elementary?
No, not elementary.
Fourth,
Yeah.
yeah.
We're talking.
But I say, you know, if we set the expectation of leave it in your backpack, because we all know how quickly things can change, so.
And I know teachers, even with like the fourth, fifth, and sixth last year, didn't want them taking them home every night. They just sent them home basically if they felt like they needed to be at home. So if you were bringing them back and forth and forgetting and.
I mean, we're not opposed to looking at how it plays out.
But we won't run into the situation that we ran into last year when he canceled, closed schools
Everything, yeah.
Sunday night, because that's gonna come from us, whether we do that with our school. So we could say we have that, but we come Tuesday, we're gonna come back to school Wednesday, get everything lined up, and starting Thursday, we're there. So we won't run into that surprise at 7:30 at night.
We get
We
to
can't.
decide if we.
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't the governor?
I think if it got bad enough,
Yeah.
Oregon could come on and.
Well, he could close it for, if he wanted to, but
Yeah.
what he's saying is if we've got to quarantine for 14 days, that's our choice, not, if we have. to
Right, for
quarantine,
14,
whatever.
yeah. I'm thinking,
But if,
What
but
if
if all of a
somebody
sudden,
sends us a positive test on a Sunday, and we're like, oh, first grade has to stay home, then they need their devices.
Yes.
So I think that we.
at least on the weekends or
During
something?
that day where teachers have the kids during small group, that's where they say, do you know what, your device is going home, it stays in your backpack unless we go top another month, then it comes back. I know that you laugh, but kids are a lot better than most adults in situations like that. They all have devices at home anyways, right, Brent?
Exactly.
That's more now, concern the lower elementary, because that's something that I'll get used to.
Yeah. And it's temporary, until we get through.
November.
I hope so, but I'm not very.
It's all,
What was that over there? I missed it.
let him, you don't want to know.
White tonight, he's feeling really.
Okay, questions, comments?
Just to comment on if what you're saying is possibly the governor coming in, having a press conference in the next week or so.
I think he's got one tomorrow, I think he's scheduled every Tuesday.
Well, but what I'm asking is, if we get switched to yellow, do we have a hybrid plan set in place already?
That's what we'd have to get together, make sure that we finalize it, that we got everything in order, but yeah.
We
I mean, you
have
guys got a
ideas.
pretty good skeleton of it?
Yes.
yeah, that's what.
They'll be ready by next Wednesday to give it to us.
The nice thing is that, I mean, I could say for the elementary teachers, they did an awesome job with online learning
next Wednesday?
compared to some other schools.
Next
So we
Wednesday's
needed
the
to
board
shift
meeting?
that for 5 days to get the information out to people. Teachers should be there.
Yeah, right. Got it.
It probably will go as yellow tomorrow, but.
Well,
It
we
will.
only,
You are.
we only had 58 yesterday, what do we have today?
100.
Yesterday was 58.
Mike, he has a question.
I have a question about the visitors in school
Yep.
part. So as Dollars for Scholars, we had to obviously kibosh our biggest fundraiser, which was Fun Night last year.
Yeah.
The next biggest one is our pizza sales. Are we gonna be able to do that? Or do we need to look at moving everything to the spring, or,
I guess,
I don't know, I mean, we had low numbers as
The
far as
kids-
donations last year,
The
so we were
kids
really low to
do
begin
the
with.
pizza sales, right?
Hmm.
Correct.
So if you could get the information to us to distribute.
So
What would be?
that's wonderful, but that's not an easy task. Typically, we have one or two of us on the board, well, there's only one or two of us on the board, but asking a volunteer to help us and come in, is that gonna be a possibility?
Come in for,
Just to,
present?
yes. Because we literally hand out their order forms, we take in the order forms, we have to literally
So
count
you would
everything
meet
up, make sure
with,
it's
you would
good.
meet
It's-
with the kids, or you'd meet with
We
everybody? or
usually
what you
meet
do?
with the kids, not only for fundraising, but also for their scholarships.
Mhm.
We come in and explain what they need to do, like at the beginning of the year is really good to hit, and then of course at the end of the year, so they have everything in, is that?
We wouldn't be able to hold an assembly or anything.
Right,
So-
normally what we do is go in their classroom.
Yeah, so if we did that, I mean, if we,
I don't,
it
yeah.
would be up for discussion, obviously, you would have to mask up, because
Right.
Yeah, anytime anybody's. doing
according
that,
to our
yeah.
plan, that's where it all gets tricky.
And pizza sales aren't until November. So I mean, I know, it's a
After the
daily.
election is
I work in an office, I work in an office where everything is liquid, you know, in an
Yeah.
hour this could change,
Yeah, we
and
can
does,
definitely
so.
look at it closer.
Yeah, once it gets closer, let's talk about it, but I think there's some way we could work it out, I mean, if we had to do something a
Why
little
can't we?
differently or whatever, we could get it worked out.
Help me. Help me.
Because everything is blamed on public schools, that's why.
Yeah.
Well, daycare's full.
Daycare's a bit, I know some people are struggling with how we said we're doing there at Lower Elementary, and it's stricter than what most daycares are doing right now. So,
No, we need to open our eyes, I think that, I think we all know that we need to start.
yeah,
And hopefully
Go.
start smart. Oh,
I mean, Michelle,
smart research.
nothing has been consistent this whole time. Like, how long was Sky Zone closed and then opened before schools and camps and,
It just needs to get open and get things back on track, and we'll work the bugs out as we go.
Well, I mean, I don't know what, we got Maple Valley opening on the 17th, so we'll see, 17th and 18th, I think 18th is their first day,
It's
so
good to have a game.
they'll be in 2 weeks before we are, so we'll see
Yeah,
what happens down there.
Don't worry.
In my office, we've had soccer start today. We had 13 Class A schools with co-ops with Class B schools start practice today. As far as I know, we had no problems, but that might come tomorrow, I don't know.
So
Questions?
you said the distance learning, so do we have to meet and revise and approve every time you revise the plan, or what, because you're gonna have to, if they switch, you're gonna revise?
that's up to you
Yeah,
guys.
you guys would have to decide that. What we've got in the plan, so if we go to the yellow, they wouldn't necessarily have to meet to approve it. It's just that we would put a plan together. I mean, you know that when we go to yellow, it's hybrid. And we would put that together. We would keep you posted on what it is. I mean, if we wanted to have a special meeting to approve it, we could.
That's why I'm asking the
Yeah,
question.
it's up to you guys what you want to do.
Well, I
If we
think-
go to yellow, say that we go after the board meeting, that goes to yellow, and we have to go to the hybrid, and we give you guys the changes, and then you can decide whether you want to have a special meeting to approve that, or if we just go ahead with it, so.
My recommendation right off the bat for online learning would be to make Zoom sessions required for staff and students. And grading would be required. Things that we didn't do in the spring because we were giving that grace would be required instead of not.
Yeah, and
Here's the
I would
thing, right.
recommend that it does, that this new one, because this one was for last year, which was
Yeah,
a different
and it-
situation, that once we get this next one organized, that it does come before you guys to vote and approve it, because there are gonna be some differences, just like
Are
Mrs.
you
Bussett
talking about
just
the
said.
online learning plan?
The
Oh,
online.
yeah, that's why tonight, we need to put a committee together, or whoever, to look at this, get it ready for the meeting on Wednesday. But you're talking about if we approve this plan tonight,
Correct.
and then we
Then
make
you make the
changes, and we
changes.
go to yellow, then we go to hybrid, and we change some things in it, do you guys want to meet and approve those changes?
Because that's gonna change your online learning.
So, Ms.
I mean,
Where
I think
as
if
a
you,
board, we are held accountable
Yes.
for this in a way that we've not been held accountable for anything. So I'm actually not willing to not look at a plan to make us vote on it.
That's what I'm saying, I think we all
Right.
need to vote, because that's
Anytime
what,
there's changes, it has to come back to the
if we're
board.
voting on this one, anything you change out of this,
Yep,
it's gonna have to come back to.
yeah, because we're,
And it might have go up because
Yes.
things are changing.
Yep.
Most of the time, people know the same information that we know as administrators.
So so we have a meeting next Wednesday, so we get by the meeting on Thursday, or whatever, he goes to Yellow. We bring the COVID team back together, the leadership team, revamp our Yellow plan, whatever we're gonna do. Then we call a special meeting and you guys approve that. Okay,
I think so.
Okay.
If we need to, yes.
okay.
Got a question, you won't know till you send out your survey, how many are gonna go to straight distance learning?
We had 20 and
We have 23
24
right now, 24.
that were questionable, is that what it was? And 20
About
that
40
said yes?
some that
Yeah.
were,
But there were between the two, of the 20 that were,
yeah.
some that said, was it 20 that said they were, and 24 that they weren't sure?
We have something, as soon as this is approved, we have something to send out.
Yep.
Tomorrow
Okay.
morning, that will say, you have
Until
until
this
this
date.
time to decide. And if you don't respond, we're assuming that your child is coming face to face. That way, if they don't show up on the first day, that's where we start doing absent.
Okay.
You know, with the, you're absent and we file if they don't
So
have
just
an
a
option.
question that's gonna come up, and I'm just asking, okay,
Yeah.
so now they go distance learning, they're gonna go to some other Arizona State or whatever. How are you gonna do grading for that, for eligibility, or are they gonna be able to do extracurricular
They're-
out? Or they just, if they're out of the distance learn, are they gonna be able to do extra?
There is somebody, so we've been working with Valley City a little bit, they're hiring a part-time teacher to do that. Elementary, we can manipulate a schedule and figure out somebody to check in and grade that stuff, but we have talked about
Yes.
going in on it at Valley City.
Yeah.
If that's
So-
still up in the air until we know our numbers.
Yeah, by the time we figure our numbers, they got one person that's interested in being the monitor. So then they would take care of all the grading. And then that would be something that we'd have to work with them to, you know, they'd have to watch the eligibility and all that. That would be
That would be
the
part
monitor's
of it.
person, yes. They would be telling us whether they're eligible or not. We give them a list of which kids that are online and they need to be checked on the basis, and then that person would monitor that.
But eligible for what? If they're not coming to school.
Extracurricular.
Yeah, well, if they're not coming to school.
They can still-
They can
They
still
can
school.
They're still participating.
They're still students.
If your son decides to go remote, he can still play football, basketball, he can do it all,
So they can go remote, if they don't feel like it, but they
Yep.
can go play sports with everybody else.
yes.
That sounds very dumb.
Our bylaw was changed to say if your school counts you present,
Yeah.
that's how we go eligible.
We actually have some
However you're
families
doing
that
it.
you have like scared of COVID, have family things, but you have other families that don't necessarily agree with what we're doing, so they're doing the online option with their kids.
Because I think at one time, didn't high school activities was gonna come out with a resolution saying you can't, if you go remote, you can't, but then West or Fargo went all online?
Yep, initially that is what was said, but that I think was said, it was said by board members
Yeah.
without a meeting, that's kind of what they were looking towards, like committees. We had a return to play committee.
Yeah.
And that is kind of what they said, and then they heard about all the differences that all the schools were doing, and they went, yeah, we can't do that.
Question. Of the 24, whatever that number is, that are undecided, did they give you
Reasons.
or not reasons, but like what would allow them to come into the building?
Yeah, so like some examples, I'm opting for online because I don't think my child needs to wear a mask at all. So since we're having them wear in the hallway, they're like, well, and that's still the undecided, so this will
Okay.
tell us, here is our plan, the board approved it.
Yep.
Why we're waiting for after tonight. So now you have to make a decision.
Okay.
And then we should get more concrete answers, but we will.
Was that, can I ask, was that the main reason for all 24 or just a few, or, because I mean,
No.
I'm just trying to.
I mean, like I said, it's polar opposite. Like they have a family member that's
Right.
compromised, or they don't agree with what we're doing. There wasn't in the middle like, oh, I'm worried about this, or,
Well, wasn't there some that just preferred the online?
I mean, there might be some families, I would say more high school students, like they prefer to have that option of online learning. And
At their own
Mr. Sears had mentioned it
pace.
before, but Bergham's going that way, so we don't think this option is going away.
It isn't, I don't believe it's gonna go away. We're gonna face this every year. We're gonna be giving them options, and we're gonna have to decide if this is the option we wanna stay with or what we wanna do as we go down the road. But I
Till it
don't think that,
epically
I don't
fails.
think he's gonna completely get away from online learning after,
No, it was all about it.
Mr. Will, how are you gonna check eligibility?
Okay, so if we go through, if we partner with Arizona State, I'm sure that they're gonna have
So good.
a grading system put in place where they're receiving grades daily, weekly, whatever it is, and we'll have grades to be able to go by. You know, I'm going to request that I have either access or I have a way of being able to look at those grades. If we go through with if we don't do that and we go through distance ed, there really isn't gonna be any eligibility grade-wise, because that is just one set time. There is no grade that is given.
It's just given at the end.
It's given at the end.
But
So-
is there some procedure to keep that they're up to not falling behind?
You have accountability
Yeah.
check-ins.
Okay.
Yeah, they have a pacing guide, but the pacing guide is just a suggested pacing. So, you know, and it's not uncommon to have a student 26 lessons behind with 2 weeks left in the semester, and they get it all done. So that's where that is, you know, you can't really go, or if they're not doing anything, they could have a 98%, but they're 15 lessons behind.
So, I mean, it's out of our hands, a student
Yep.
can play the whole season of football and end up taking a class.
Wasn't there a way of somehow saying somewhere in there, whatever we decide, but you have to stay on task or stay with the plan? If you're gonna be an athlete, you're
Some benchmarks along the way.
benchmark, just like anything else. I mean, we have, you know, you can't have a student that has missing 5 assignments in math.
yeah, there'll be, I'm assuming we're gonna get more information as we go forward, but that'd be a question we could ask, but I don't know if there's any way that I don't know how their program is set up. We don't know as of right now how it's set up.
Are you talking about the Arizona State
Yeah.
one? Okay.
Yeah, so I
For
mean,
high
if, yeah, for the
Yeah.
high school, for the elementary, I mean, they're the only ones who really have any eligibility for that.
Yeah, so it's just, where it gets tricky is the high school.
Yeah,
Yeah, so-
and so that would be the issue, if they do like the Center for Distance Ed, they just, you got 20 weeks to get your work done, it doesn't matter, I mean, there's no grade checks for it. You know, 'cause I mean, you.
Well, I got grade checks with Dylan.
Yeah, you probably did, but I mean, like, if they were behind 15 lessons, we'd have to go by whatever they had. Like Mr. Wells said, if they got a 98, but they're 15 lessons behind, they got a 98.
Right, but what I'm saying is, can't we, you know, because they.
Well, that's a question we're gonna have to
Yeah.
ask ASU. I don't know if you can do that or not. If we got 20 schools that are involved with ASU, I don't know if we can write our own policy.
Oh, I
for
see what you're
that.
saying, I see what you're saying.
You
Yep,
know, so
okay,
if 19, we can't just
Yeah.
write our policy and say, here, you guys have to do this.
right. I
I
see.
think
Our kids-
ASU would probably give you grades. I'm
Yeah.
talking more the distance.
Yeah,
learning
distance
side.
learning would be more.
And the
of a-
other part with that is the parents would then be in a lot of control of that, because they're going to the online format. Yes, they're doing that, and we're gonna sign them up, and we're gonna pay for that, but they're not gonna come in here and have me proctor their test or whatnot. So their parents are gonna have to be set as the proctor to do those tests. And if they choose to have us or allow me to have access to that information, receive those email updates for the pacing part.
Well, it'd be the same thing we'd have with any student that's doing a homeschooling thing too. Wouldn't it? Because we don't really know what the homeschooling students' grades are.
He needs access to be able to monitor the pacing. That's all he's saying. If he can't get that access, it's.
Right, but what I'm saying is, it's,
Homeschooling,
You
we
won't-
don't monitor that.
You won't have
No,
a
no, but-
homeschool that's
no.
ever ineligible.
right, and that's what I'm saying, it would be the same thing if it, you know, ultimately, if they're paying for CDE, they're ultimately doing homeschooling.
If they're paying for it,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, so so we would never know.
We've had homeschool kids participate in sports, and we don't monitor those
Right,
kids.
and that's what, basically what I'm saying is, if a parent decides not to go to Arizona State, but they decide to do CDE,
Yeah.
then it's just basically a homeschool.
I have had a homeschool kid ineligible too, by the way, 'cause
That'd be a parent's responsibility, you know, parent says, no, this kid isn't doing his homework, I'm not gonna have to play.
Parents of it?
yeah, he didn't play the game Friday night because he was was ineligible.
That's kudos on Karen.
Oh, I'd
That's
so
good.
do that.
Yeah.
Do you know what the ASU cost is for us to?
The only thing they said, Josh was estimating about $3,000 a student, but that was, he had other things involved there, so I'm not sure, we're gonna have to sit down and figure that out. We're getting the foundation they paying for it. Yeah.
Yeah, per year.
But he would, yes,
Okay.
yeah, he said 1,500 a semester, but that was, and I think that was including, I can't remember what all was included in that, that's just what he gave, as he threw a figure out, because we had a meeting with the Southeast on Friday, and he said, that's what he's gonna estimate it at, but he said that might not be accurate, but he said it's gonna be close.
And once we have this approved, I know Ms. Bussey will too, but I'm going to reach out to those families that had stated that they're not going to re-explain exactly what entails with the plan, the requirements for at the 7-12 level of that semester requirement of not being able to, while in October I'm gonna pull my student out and go to the online format of what that would entail. You know, because we don't know how the grading, if it was NDCDE, they would have to start from the very beginning of that class and do all of that stuff in a matter of time. So having those conversations and being able to answer some of those questions personally might convince some of them to come back to the school. But there are some who are legitimately worried about the health and safety, they're not gonna come.
Right.
Any other questions?
So we are looking at the possibility of 132,000 in situation to ASU if it can go. Well,
If all 40 kids would be up.
well,
And we have a lot that haven't responded yet.
that's the bill we haven't counted on.
Well, there goes their lunch money.
Yep.
Another bus.
That kind of.
Showing how good of a teacher I am.
Any other questions on the plan? Knowing that if there changes, it will come back to you.
Do we have to deal with the calendar at the same time we're doing the plan?
Mm-hmm.
That should be part of the,
That should be part of the plan.
Yep, so what the change will be, you've got, obviously we had the 28th as well, but 17th of August will be our opening in-service day. So the 17th, 18th, the 17th to the 21st is all gonna be in service, and that would be here at BCN. The 24th is going to be the virtual in-service with Valley City, and then we have from 10 to 2, we have our health experts. We'll do small group assessments, which count as days of school. So our first day of school will be the 25th, 26th, and 27th, because we're doing the small group assessments those 3 days. Friday, the 28th, would be the teacher get together, make sure they've got all the assessments and all that ready to go. First day of school for every child is the 31st.
That's calendar one.
Yep, so then you're looking at ending, you keep all the same days, everything the same. You'd be looking at ending, what was it, May
23rd,
21st?
or 20th for
20th. 20th or 21st, because we'd have to decide if we want to go that Friday, and then graduation on the 23rd. That gives us 170 days of instruction. And then you've got your 7 days of, would be 170 days, and you've got your 7 days of staff in service.
I thought we needed.
So how does that,
It's hours now, it's not days anymore, remember?
Mr. Severs, I asked you how that, like on a normal year, I'm not sure what schedule you're working off of. How many flex hours do we have in a normal 175 day based on your schedule? How will it change
12
when we
days.
drop to 1?
Yeah.
12.
7. So it would go from 7, I had sent
Yeah, you sent it to me, yep. I got
to
it.
Mr.
Yep, so
Simpson.
it's, if we go the 170 days, it's gonna be, you'd have 7 flex days. If we go that following week and get out on the 27th, graduation on the 30th, we'd have 12 flex days.
So those 5 days are coming out of our flex.
Yep.
You can use flex for professional development.
Yes.
Okay, understand, okay.
So we've already used 5 of the 7 possible.
Well, we wouldn't just because, not, we
No,
wouldn't.
we'd use 5 of the 12.
Oh,
of
it
flex.
depends on the calendar, okay.
Yeah,
On
if
this-
you go with the one at the 100, if we get out on the same day we propose and have graduation the 23rd, we would have 7 flex days built in. If you go to the graduation on the 30th on Memorial Day weekend, we'd have 12 days built in.
We're gonna use 5 right away. Use them right away.
So that 5, like you say, is hours, so they would come off on early hours, 2-hour late, so you need that.
We're not doing early hours.
No, we're not doing
I mean,
it. If we have
Storm, I'm talking
weather
about.
related.
Weather related is what I'm
Oh,
talking about.
yeah.
Yeah,
They
so-
start an early hour.
If,
So
you know, we
so when you
start,
say 7 days, you have 42 some hours, or based on 6 or 6 and a
Yeah.
half, or what?
yep, well, I did a calculation for both, of the times for the dates of it, and I don't have that with me.
Just rough, I mean, you're
So,
talking
yeah,
44.
so whether you based off a 6-hour day or our actual length of the day, there's just a slight difference between the two. So, because the state required is 6 hours, we go above and beyond that, so I think it was like 12.7 and 12.2, the difference, and then the other one was 7.4 and 7.1. So there's not a real big difference between the two, but that's 7, that allows us 7 storm days. Then we stated that after 5, we're gonna make those up.
I mean, so we're gonna have 40, say 42, just
Yeah.
use 6. So those would come off even 2 hours late, 2 hours leaving, it all goes by
Yes.
hours.
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
So we
yep,
got 40 some hours to work with
Yep.
in this calendar.
Can I just ask something?
Yeah.
And maybe there's a really good reason, but it makes me kind of crazy. Why did we not shift our end quarter dates?
Mr.
Is there a
Schaefer,
reason
was
for
discussing
that?
it, we discussed that at our team meeting. You wanna, we talked about the fact that, because we said we want to move that, and kind of the consensus was no, because it's an odd year. We didn't want to mess with it, but am I speaking wrong?
But when you're
Yeah, it
looking,
doesn't, yeah.
but you're looking at 37 in one quarter and 51. How do you, I don't know, I have a hard time saying that's okay.
Usually the end of the year is only 40 days, the fourth quarter is only 40 days, in a normal year. And we've got to have grades done before we walk out, so you really have 35 in the normal year. It just changed that the longer quarters.
Because the draft that we approved before the whole COVID reopening plan was 42 days, 41 days, 47 days, 45 days. That was our original.
But
I'm
that
just
plan
saying,
still had changing at Christmas break, right?
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah,
that, I'm just, that, so.
Wasn't that?
That's
the
like
rationale?
more even to me,
Yeah,
and then I
that's
look
nice
at
for
these and it's 37, 40, 47, 46. Or draft 2, 37, 40, 47, 51. I mean, that just, it's odd to me. And I know it's an odd year, I get that, but I think I don't
and that's
understand why.
because you had to
Can't adjust it.
extend the school year that last quarter.
Well, the second one where there's 51, that's the extra 5 days again.
Right, because we had to take that first week off, the 17th through the 21st were in-service days. And so those days had to get added on to the end of the year.
Right. Well, what she's just
I'm
saying is
still
why
saying,
can't you just
we
shift it?
adjust the end of the quarter? I still don't get it.
Yeah, just to make it all even.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
I'm not
We can do
following.
whatever you want, that was the consensus when we talked about it.
So
I
then
think
are
the
you
thought
going-
that they brought to us was, when you break at Christmas time,
That's a good break.
Then
It's
you-
a good
then
break,
you
but
come
see,
back
this is the
later.
only year we've
Okay.
ever done that. We've never done that
Exactly.
before.
I think that was the rationale that they brought to it. Wasn't that
Which
right?
would work
It
if
would've
we
worked
were,
if
which
it was a
would be
normal
great if
year
we're
starting
starting
off
on the
at
Let's just
17th.
hope we make it to Christmas.
Well, but here's, okay, so I try to be power of the positive all the time, and I realize that doesn't always work. But we always say we don't have enough time. We don't have enough time. There's not enough hours in the day. So now we've made it so that we can let our staff have the needed time to plan and prepare. Because I think they deserve it every year to have a whole week that they get paid for to come to their rooms and prepare. So that I'm a total fan of. But if we're gonna be sometimes in the school and sometimes out of the school, we're gonna need those extra days. I am sorry. I don't care that people say, well, you end on the 20th, you're really ending on the 15th. Well, it shouldn't be that way. So if you're here to educate kids, you educate to the last day, even if it's not out of a book, you're still educating your kids. I'm extremely passionate about that. So to me, to say, we've got the built-in time, let's just chalk it off because it's COVID year and it's all new and it's different. No, let's build into the plan the most amount of time we can give our students, because that's what we're here for. And we are going to lose time. As much as I hate going negative, we're going to have to do some in our homes. There isn't a teacher out there this last spring that didn't want time with their kids at the end of the year, and we did not give it to them. We gave them a bus ride to meet the kids in a parking lot, and yes, they hugged. And you know what? They need that. We haven't addressed mental health anywhere. That's important. So for me, to say we're only going to do 170 days, I can't support that at all. Not one bit. So that's just my 2 cents. Probably talked a little longer than I needed to.
And the thing is with that, Michelle, I think that's just gonna be this year. And that's the problem.
I know
And
this,
that
but
is a problem, that is a problem.
it is a
But
huge problem.
after this year, hopefully, it evens itself out a little bit. But the idea to get it done at Christmas break that semester was so that we don't bring, it's mainly for the high school. It was mainly for the high school, 7 through 12, is so that we don't come back week and a half to finish the semester after the Christmas break. That is a difficult thing to do when you're finishing a semester for those kids.
This part,
Start the 15th
I mean, we
instead
can
of
do,
19th.
we can do, the 3 days of assessment the week before somehow, like,
Not if we're gonna train, well, I suppose we do Monday, Tuesday, Friday. If you got
yeah,
Wednesday,
we
Thursday.
can look at that differently and train the staff differently and make sure those kids' contact days. I do agree with you, Michelle, like the teachers need that time, but I know a lot of the teachers have already been doing that, like measuring their classrooms and doing all that. But I do think that we should bring our kids in slowly, whether it be the 21st, 20th, and 19th, the week before, so that they can get that time in smaller groups and get that momentum going in the year.
Because then you
set
start on the
aside.
19th, which is when you were meant to start, you're just starting with a smaller group.
Yes. Yeah. So the 17th and the 18th, except for the online training, we'd have to look at, because that would be during those 2 days. Honestly, I think I don't think elementary teachers would need that virtual online training because they're not taking over the ASU stuff. Do I think it would be beneficial? Yeah, I think teachers just love to learn. But if we wanted to adjust that, we absolutely could.
And you could stick the first calendar at the end. Because it would be more than 170 days.
173.
So then they would come back to school on Tuesday, the 25th, as all students.
Okay, I guess, is the issue with the number of days or when the quarter ends?
Both.
Okay, so you'd like to move the date back to graduate Memorial Day weekend and then end the semester a weekend and go with Valley City's schedule, which ends, what is there, January, is 8th the last day?
No, the first schedule and start earlier.
I think start earlier, not switch to the.
We don't want to
option
change the first schedule, we want to end it the semester, but we want to get started earlier, so you're not giving those days up.
Okay,
We may need later.
So can we compensate to bring the teachers 2 days before contracted time? That would be.
because you
option.
contract the teachers for 182 days.
Yeah,
We were
so
looking
then,
at starting on the 19th originally, right?
Yes.
Before all this
18th.
started, our original.
The kids were
plan.
starting the 18th.
18.
so, I mean, this way we'd be starting, the way I suggested first, we'd be starting the 19th. I don't know if that helps. But we could push those 3 days up and compensate teachers for coming in for Wednesday, Thursday before.
Well, you wouldn't, because that'd be full 180.
People have
I mean,
plans.
I'm already
We-
all over social media that it starts the 31st and.
But it
Well,
was-
then that's social media, that's their own fault.
That's what people are saying.
But
So
if
what?
the teachers have plans, then they don't come in, they don't compensate.
I'm just saying,
We have to
remember
meet with
that
them
right
to do
to
the
help
work.
school.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a way for them to get compensation to come in and do that.
Technically, nothing's been approved, so as of right now, school is actually starting the 18th, technically. Technically, school starts the 18th until we approve something different.
Absolutely.
So, everyone, that's, just saying. Nothing's been approved yet, so.
So tell them what you want, guys.
I told them.
Oh, okay. So start the 18th and just bring all kids in.
So, and so now explain to us the reason you would like individual assessments and to bring them in.
Well,
small
the
groups.
state is requiring us to assess
Mhm.
all students
And
K
For the
through
first
12.
month, yeah.
And I like that idea of having
Because
small
you guys-
groups come in.
Yeah,
We're-
you missed so much.
The way
last
we're
year.
doing it is a lot different than everybody else, with some of the other schools.
And that
Valley
was brought up by
City's, yeah,
teachers.
yeah, Valley
Like the
City's
teachers.
bringing their kids in, and they're just gonna do, that first month, they're just gonna assess while they're in classrooms.
I mean, and just sitting here thinking, we still have to assess those kids who are doing online learning.
Yeah.
So, could they come in that week? You know, one-on-one with the
Will they want-
teacher?
Will they want to come in?
Well, I don't know, we still have to assess them. It's required through the state, so then what?
Oh.
It says Portland, it's long.
What is your plan to assess them now?
The 25th, 26th.
I totally was not thinking about online
Exactly,
students
I
until
wasn't
this
either.
moment, and
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
like, we have to assess those, because I was thinking about that as we we're going through the plan, I'm like, oh my gosh, that first week, you know, like, second grade hardly has any students, so according to how we did the buses, there would be one kid coming that last day, but we moved him so that he would be with a group and not by himself, so and that's where the thought came, I'm like, oh, Mrs. Croft could assess some of her online students then, whether it be over Zoom or whatever, you know, so they have to have time to assess those students for online too. Hopefully we could get them in the building, but if not, then we're gonna have to discuss the validity of doing it over Zoom with our students.
So if you brought, if school is supposed to start the 18th, so if you brought in small group 18, 19, 20, does that fit what you need a little bit better than just saying dead start, like boom?
I mean, yeah, what we would just have to plan,
I know.
the health and safety training, the expectations
Oh, okay, so
of.
the 18th should maybe be the health.
Well,
and
no, we
safety.
have the
Yep,
17th.
17th.
So the 17th, they, like it was supposed to be,
Yeah,
I want to
there's
call
only-
them vendors, but
there's only
insurance
one
Benefits
people
people,
and,
there's one coming and
yeah.
a little bit that I have to do doesn't take much.
So we do have the 17th, we can do that.
18.
I would think you'd want to at least go, because you want to train staff. You want them before kids are coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be the 17th.
But I think, I really think you need a couple days there. I think you take Monday,
I
Tuesday.
agree, but I'm just trying to meet in the middle. So if we did Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday,
Be the
Thursday, Friday,
25th.
small groups, would that be sufficient? Like, we would be missing that 18th day. But you said 2 days, we need,
I
so.
kind of think so.
You think you need 2 days, or can you do it more?
No, I think,
Well, the problem,
That's what they're the ones that are
no,
doing it.
the problem's gonna be, I think you're gonna run into is a lot of overlap, and, you know, you've got, if you gotta do kitchen, bus drivers, custodians, staff, you know, I
Let's
don't know.
have 2
Yeah.
days worth of group.
I mean, it might be easier that way. Bud and I
Yeah.
haven't talked about the bus driver training yet, so we could, might even be able to incorporate that into it too.
And then we
I
could
haven't
have
mentioned
those online students, we can maybe plan for them to do one-on-one. If they're not comfortable coming to the building, then, you know, we can maybe have some flexibility there. Lori?
No, I was gonna say, Mr. Farrell, I always feel like we throw everything at you, it's like, aim some at JR. That's all I was thinking.
he's over here. I can't, he's to my right.
That's what happened.
Mr.
So
Schaefer.
I got a
You
question.
sat by me.
And I wanna, I'm gonna direct it to Mr. Schaefer, because
He was our high school
being
rep.
and, you know, being a classroom teacher or whatnot, for having to plan for face-to-face, the blended, and the strictly online, if we start the 18th, is that enough time for
See, this
you guys?
is what I wanted to address, and Mike allowed me to here. I don't know if we need the 5 days. It was just put in there so that we made sure that the teachers had enough time to be ready for this stuff going on. Because the thing is, what happened in March is we were shut down, we had no time. We had no time whatsoever to do any type of justice for those kids online. It might have went smoothly in some people's eyes it didn't go very smoothly for them. This way, I think we need some time, that first week, that 17th through the 21st, so that everybody, staff-wise in the school, is on board of what we're doing with this approved plan.
Okay, so 17th and 18th, training.
Would that be enough time, do you think?
Could be.
We're also gonna have the next Monday with City
Yeah.
County Health and the virtual stuff.
But that's with other schools, and that's not necessarily our school.
Well, yeah, because that would be, well, the 10 to 2 would be our school,
Yeah,
that's
the 10
health.
to 2 is ours.
They're doing all, they're doing, like Teresa will and the two doctors are gonna do, they're gonna explain the health and safety portions of it. So, yeah, the 8 o'clock and the 2 o'clock are keynote speakers that will be online.
But it'll just be us, and then the next 3 days would be small groups, so hopefully if questions come up or things that you planned, you can ask those with a few kids.
What are you saying now, small
Yeah,
groups?
17th and 18th would be their in-service days.
Yeah, so 19,
19, 20, 21,
We would
and then,
shift to the 3,
yeah, and then the 24th would be the in-service,
Yes.
and then we start
and
full-time
then we'd
24th.
start the 25th.
Okay. I thought you meant that we're gonna go small groups again.
Would that be
So-
okay?
What,
Sounds good.
so this 28th in-service,
That was,
Yeah,
for
I
the
mean,
small,
if-
that was,
if
we
that's
talked
what
about
you
if we
guys
had that
think,
day,
we have
that
that
to
those,
assess.
well,
Oh,
the three,
teachers can use it to do
that was the
CYP.
principal's suggestion to get everybody together.
Yeah.
On the when we had we had Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for small group,
Yeah.
and Friday the teachers to get together do we need that day?
Well, Lee just suggested we take the 24th and 25th of the next week.
That's what I'm saying, why not move that
Oh, yeah.
28th back to the 25th? And then you got 2
I
days.
think I will take more days with my teachers. and
With,
teachers.
with that 28th, wasn't it the idea
For what?
to analyze the assessments and then kind
It
of see
was.
if the online kids are gonna be able to be successful or not? But the thing is,
That
if
would-
they're going to strictly go online, we don't need to assess those kids
We
because
have to.
You have
we're
to.
gonna assess them, but we don't need to discuss them because they're gonna be
Oh.
online.
Not the
yeah.
online.
So we don't need a day to discuss if they're gonna be online or not. They're gonna be online.
I think that was more or less like, how do we figure out groupings for MTSS and make that work?
Okay.
That's why I think that day's gotta go before we come in.
So the 25th.
Okay, so that would be the 25th.
Yeah, but if you have your 17th and 18th, you come in with your assessments on the 19th.
Could we get done with those assessments in 2 days? And do the 21st?
But then you could go the
but
24th and 25th.
It's okay if we do
then.
the 25th because we have small groups and not every student. So that, it would still work to do it the 25th.
Right, then you just do your teacher assessment of the assessments on
Right.
the 25th.
Yeah.
And then back to school, do it. the rest of the week.
So those first 2 weeks would be 3 days.
3
for the
days.
kids. Well,
We had
three
three
days.
more
Oh, it
days.
wouldn't, but it
3
wouldn't be
days,
3
3
days.
days.
'cause
Not
if
for
you're in
everyone.
small groups,
yeah,
Small group.
Not everybody's gonna be
Yes.
in school.
right.
so
Right, but
we're gonna have to
It's-
work with that.
But we've okayed that, like that's.
But now with that, those 3 days that we're doing the assessments, we're also going over what would happen if we have to
Technology
go.
protocols. and-
Exactly.
Protocols.
Right.
So again, those days could be counted as,
They are counted.
they're
Yes,
counted
they
as
Yeah,
are
they are
counted.
counted.
They are counted.
Those 3 days.
So
Yeah.
that would add 3 days to the first
Yeah.
quarter.
So that would give you 3 more days to that first quarter then.
For
Perfect.
actually technically
That
it'd
makes
be
it
2
40,
days.
40.
What's that?
47,
Well,
47.
They're gonna go, those,
We
Yeah.
go 19, 20,
yeah.
21,
1, 2,
and then 26, 27, 28. So we got 3 days.
Yeah, we'd have,
Yeah.
add 3 days to our contract.
That's better.
That's what that would be.
yes.
So
No, it is
what
better.
would- What would be like good?
Well, no, I think it's, I mean, I just, like I said,
So
we're
on that
always
calendar, Michelle,
needing
you've
more
got,
time.
you've got in
Need
front,
more
you got,
time, need
what
more
is it,
time.
40 in the first quarter,
And we're
Michelle?
willing,
Yeah,
what's that?
it would be 40, yeah,
40?
yep.
Yep,
And then what, 40?
40, 46, and 47.
Okay.
yep. Be 40, 40, 47.
Okay, so it's on the board, August 17th and 18th, no students, that'll be training. 19th, 20th, 21st will be the small groups, and Bud sent that to me so we can get that information out. August 24th will be the virtual in-services with Valley City and other schools. 25th, we'll use as another professional development day, and then the 26th will be all back on campus. And it's nice, that's a Wednesday, right?
Yep,
Right.
yep. No,
No.
no, 2 Mondays
2 Mondays
later.
after that.
That's
Labor
what
Day's
we
the
have.
7th.
Really late this year.
Labor Day's the 7th this year.
Oh, I was thinking think about Labor Day.
I
That's
think we
pushed back
can do
a
so,
week.
like
Yeah,
I said, I
so-
didn't need the 5 days, it was just, you know, I think it helps.
I think you want that assessment, that's why I say I think we need to move that
Yeah,
28th back.
I mean, it was thrown out there so that we had a later start date,
Yeah.
because it's August, right?
The
Does the
other-
state still have to approve this plan?
What's that?
Does the state still have to
No.
approve this plan?
This
No,
is
board
this is
approved.
board,
Board.
local board, local control.
Does it have to go to them?
Nope.
To be approved?
No,
No.
I sent it to them and they said, don't send me that stuff because it's local." That's exactly what they told me. We don't approve those. That's your local board has to approve it.
In other
If
words,
anything goes awry.
yeah, in other words, I don't wanna know.
Yeah, just make sure you have the hours. That's what they said.
I think they were a little overwhelmed last spring.
Okay, so that calendar will show 173 contact days.
Yes.
Correct.
And that ends us on, graduation's on the 23rd.
Right.
Correct.
Yes.
That's nice.
So then we're okay with where the quarter and the semester ends? Michelle, any more questions on that? I mean,
No,
you're
I
okay?
think,
We got
yeah,
a
I
little bit
just,
better?
when I look at that, I mean, you
Yeah.
guys all might
And-
think I'm crazy, I just,
And it does, especially when you look at that second one that says 51 days. and that
it
last
does, I
page
mean, you
goes-
see that and you're like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
it
can
just,
always extend the first quarter. Well, I mean, now it's evened out.
Yeah, now it's pretty.
Now
much
it's
the
better.
40,
Yeah, now
42,
it's better.
46, 47.
because we all know what happens when the 22nd of December
only
rolls
4 days
around.
between
That week
47
before, all
and
that
51.
teaching's gonna be done.
Friday before our staff.
We might-
Party, I know.
It might still happen.
Well, it might gain one back.
That's up to Mike.
Mike, where you have a question behind
Right.
you?
To, just to clarify
That's what I.
on the busing, me and Mike talked some, how do we, you know, we've discussed in our last meeting and stuff like that, that we're doing, you know, the one stop, you know, all that. Well, of course, you know, instantly we get questions, which we knew was gonna happen. But we need to be from top to bottom on the same page with what we're doing. If, you know, if we're gonna tell a split family, you have to pick one bus, you know, if they're on different buses. You know, to me, if we're gonna tell that split family, you get one bus, then somebody wanting to go to a different spot on a different bus isn't a fair thing to do if we're telling a split family that you have to pick one.
Okay, can I apologize, I missed last week's meeting. So we said, or the discussion was that for that family, I thought they were gonna have designated days and buses. No, you're not letting them do that. So you're gonna make a family drive maybe to, into,
We're not gonna be able to let them flip-flop buses, we're gonna end up with,
But you have to contract
Right.
And if you have them flipping buses,
But
There is
wouldn't it be the same,
school.
but wouldn't it be the same idea if you still have assigned seatings on two different buses? It's no different if a kid, a Fairchild is riding the bus, his car breaks down. He needs a bus ride that day. But he doesn't normally drive, or doesn't normally ride. So that child, if he's on that route, whether he drives normally or his parents drop him off normally or whatever, will still need to have an assigned seat because he may need to drive one day, because he may lose his license, or mom and dad may take the car away, or whatever.
Probably the latter. I'm just kidding.
So that child, if he lives on that bus route, will have to have an assigned seat somewhere, because he may need to be picked up one day.
I think where the
But
question
that's
is,
kind of a different, yeah.
that's a different
not really
scenario
the
than
same.
he's talking about.
But it's just, I look at it the same way. I mean, this child living in two different homes because.
Not his fault.
Not by his choice, not,
Yep.
I just wanna go to Grams tonight.
Yeah, it's not that.
It's the fact that, so, on Monday through Thursday, or Monday through Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, he goes to mom and dad, or mom's place. Right? Here's your assigned seat on this bus. Tuesday, Friday, or Thursday, Friday, he goes on this bus. There's still got assigned seats, still contact tracing.
That's what I'm saying. We have there's 5,000 different scenarios. Currently, we run the BCN taxi service.
But I agree with you stopping the BCN taxi service where I'm riding home the bus all the time. Today I'm gonna go to my friend's house in Rogers.
And I agree with that. I'm guilty. My kids got off at grandma's house.
Yeah,
I get it.
All I'm saying is it's hard to find a line when your line is wiggly through the middle of, well, this scenario is okay, but then this one's not. That's where, going with one pickup, one drop off, there's no line, you have one spot. But then, like I said, then that instantly brings up you've got split families, things like that. And then the next question was, well, if I want to get off on a different spot, but on the same bus,
No, I think how Chad worded it, you have families and we have to commend anyone who can co-parent and allow that to happen. So we need to support those families like we do all our families. So if,
I think the issue that it comes with giving that flexibility during this, and trust me, I was not for this last week. I got a little hype, but, so what happens is they have that set schedule. We have to make them stick to that schedule.
Yes.
Because if they call and say, oh, so-and-so's going to dance tonight.
Right.
No.
We
No.
might not have that if somebody tests positive.
yes,
Right.
no, I
Right,
totally
no.
agree.
So,
and then we're also gonna have to quarantine more
yes.
people that way also.
Yes.
Because we have to do, what is it,
They're already gonna be in
6
the
feet on the bus or something
It's
like
6
that?
feet.
Pick 'em
on
up
the
in the
bus,
morning and drop them off that night. End of the story.
I said, we're still going to have a board. We're still gonna have changes.
Yeah.
I'll be like, oh, I'm not driving my kids today, I need you to pick up my kids.
You got Beth behind you there.
If you're gonna have those two split families that run two different routes and they have assigned seats on two different buses, and you're gonna let them change moms on Monday through Wednesday, dads Thursday, Friday, if you're gonna allow that, why would you not allow the two families that sometimes get off in Neal and sometimes get off in Gravis and Daisy? It is the exact same bus.
No, because it's not co-parenting. It's a dropping off at the babysitter's house. It's dropping off at their friend's house. It's, co-parenting is a little bit
Grandma would
different.
have to drive to their house to pick
Right.
them up
Exactly.
and then bring them
Yep.
to grandma's.
So,
That's
so
the
we're
thought.
okay with our only exception being co-parent.
Co-parent.
It's at a parent's house.
Should I add that to this?
That's all I want. I just don't want it to be, because from now until school starts is a disaster in
Oh, yeah.
my
I've already had
world.
multiple
As
people
soon as
ask
I
me.
try and make a bus route, that same day I've got 27 different changes and 3 new kids and, so it's a nightmare. And so I just want to make sure that whatever we decide doesn't all of a sudden change 2 weeks from now, and then I've got all these other people mad, and, I just want to make sure we have one plan.
I have 2 new kids today. Great.
Add that to
I
your
can
list.
see not
So the
switching
thought she's
buses,
looking to change is it just
but if they're on the
the
same
co-parenting
route,
part?
Yeah.
I believe so, yeah.
why can't she stop in Leo one day and Daisy
How do I
the
word
next?
this?
What's
on the same route.
Exceptions will be. How many people I can't hear?
Okay, one
household
more.
homes.
If we have that, rather than putting it in there, can't we just communicate that
I
directly
mean,
to
yeah.
them? To
Yeah.
let them know that way, well, what about this? So if we put one exception in there, we're gonna get phone
Yep.
calls, well, what about this? What about
Yep.
this? So we know, we're talking about 2 families apparently, that we can talk to them directly, let them know that this is the scenario, so you need to get us a schedule for the busing, rather than putting it in there.
And no last minute changes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
If it's Monday, Wednesday, all you
maybe
need
you
to
could
skip
type
or
up a
get-
letter or something that fits it.
Deb shouldn't have to take any school bus changing
There
calls
should be none.
anymore.
Like,
It
no,
would just be.
that's not true, because like I said, she's still gonna get calls for like, if we were living in our house already and I bring my kids to work every day, and then one day I'm like, nope, come get my kids, she's still gonna have
She's
something.
gonna take them calls.
Or take them home, or, there's still gonna be.
But it won't, it shouldn't.
But it won't be a whole board.
For the changes will come for the students that aren't necessarily always riding, but they're on that bus route, like
Right.
Chad had
Yep.
said,
Yep.
those students still need a seating
Yeah. Or
chart
I'm
on
gonna
there,
pick up
so.
my kids today.
Yeah, so-and-so's not riding, or,
So kids are not allowed to go to anybody else's house.
no.
Not on.
Not on the bus, they're not gonna be dropped off on the bus.
No, so, yeah.
No
The
birthday
thought is to
parties.
pick up, like, you have to plan for somebody to pick them up at the location or from school.
Oh, I'm sure glad my son will be driving in a couple months.
No kidding.
So
Oh
you
my gosh,
think,
that's
Rob?
what you referred to.
What's that?
So you think?
I am, I will be happy, because they're gonna get a lot more calls than just
Yeah,
not gonna be happy calls.
And I think that's where Bud is wanting to make sure
Black
that
and
we're
white.
all,
Yeah,
so
so,
they don't like the decision that we give them and then start contacting you guys
Right.
and.
Let's get
go
it on
back
a,
and forth.
on a little card that we all could keep in our pocket and be like,
Yeah, pull the
we
card.
all read the
It
same
says we're
words.
gonna do this.
No, it is, it's Bud's fault.
As soon as this
No,
comes
that's the
out,
backside. We're reading what we say it is, but on the backside, it's all Bud's fault.
as soon as this comes out
We already
Yeah.
say that.
and it's on the thing,
Yeah.
I will get hammered the minute I walk into work.
No good deed goes unpunished.
And I
And
know that
that's to be
positively.
expected.
Just to avoid worry.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And it's to be expected because this is change. And change always ruffles feathers,
but Bud's point is, he doesn't want them to call any of you and you say, well, I can't remember talking about that, or I'm not sure if that was what we said. And then they call back and say, now how come so-and-so said they don't know this? And you said it was in your plan.
It's in the plan, it's in the email, and it's in the word of Bud.
And you should always have the board president. People who got it.
So if we go to blue, then that goes back to normal?
Good question, because that's not how it was.
We hope to be that lucky.
Yeah, but if it goes back to blue, why can't it?
It goes back to taxi service.
no.
No.
Yeah,
What do you have right now? It's all, no matter what, the busing is that way even at normal, right?
What's that?
One drop?
No.
No, we
No,
haven't.
No, you have multiple.
Isn't this the perfect year to fix
But
That's-
Exactly.
That was the reason why.
this?
give us advice, what do you want us to do?
To me, it's kind of cheating, it's kind of,
I
it's
can't
it's
listen to you say
using,
drive
it's
bus.
using this as a stepping stone, it's diverting our problem through this. To me, Rob did it 100 years before I did too. It's like it's just gradually getting worse and worse and worse, and we become everybody's solution for any problem that they have. Oh, I didn't decide to come back home from Fargo shopping soon enough, so call the school at 3:20 and say, take my kid to somewhere else. And on a liability standpoint, to me, it's a miracle that we haven't you know, lost more kids or, you know, had, you know, something bad happen. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it's.
Well, right, but
So
there's a
I-
lot of us that don't know that's happening, so make us a deal and, so we can back you.
Okay, that's what he
Okay,
wants.
I guess
One
what,
pickup, one drop off unless you're co-parenting, that continues even
Perfect.
after COVID.
okay, but I
No,
know
but
5 kids that come to Rogers through the elevator, and there's no parents at home. I
now
don't-
they're going home.
So here's,
Rob, where were you last week?
here's my idea on this. I'm okay if we do this, but we don't blame it on COVID. I'm not voting on it to say, yeah, we're gonna do that because it's COVID, and that's not the reason. If it's gonna be forever, then we call a spade a spade.
Well, it does help with contact tracing.
Yes,
I
that's.
mean,
I get that.
it's
I get
nearly
that.
impossible without.
But that's why I asked,
Yeah.
when it's done, do we go back?
Yeah,
We're not putting a false thing out there.
yeah.
That is true.
Yeah, that's true.
This will be the new policy, this.
I'm not gonna be part of a board that does that. So a spade is a spade.
So we're doing it right now for contact tracing, but we're.
We're gonna continue
We'll
it.
continue it because we don't like the way it used to be
Right.
with,
Cause that way when somebody
'Cause that would
asks
cure a
me,
lot of headaches.
I don't have to
Yeah,
tell a lie.
I mean, if you really look at, I mean,
the amount of time.
it's,
It's
I
a
don't know,
liability
it's,
issue.
it's a lot of chaos, and I mean, to me, there's a big liability in there. You're putting a lot of liability on Deb, you're putting a lot of liability on the teachers, you're putting liability on the drivers.
Joanne's the
You
one that
know.
gets the brunt end of it, and she
And then, yeah,
has
when-
nothing to do with writing anything on the board.
Yeah,
But she's
when
the
we
one who
switch
takes the
at
calls
3.
at 4:30, when she's in the wrong spot. So,
They are lucky, more things haven't happened.
Well, and we also don't run things necessarily like another school or town or whatever does either. Like, you know, when Mr. Wilson first came here, and we, you know, I was telling him about, you know, our Jamestown bus stop, and he goes, "What do you mean the driver doesn't just drop them off and leave?" And I said, "No, they sit and wait there until every single parent finally decides that they want to come pick their kid up, and you know, if it's a routine problem, you know, then that discussion happens. But I mean, it's very common that you sit there 10, 15, you know, whatever minutes, because what are you gonna do with those kids? You know, the minute we just say, you know, hey, 3rd grader, get off my bus and stand in this parking lot in Jamestown, you know, then we're gonna be all over Valley News Live, and, you know, but it's not really, you know, it's not really our deal. I mean, it's the parent's job to be at that bus stop, and, I mean, we've gotten down to a child's mother's boyfriend's boss that the kid's never met has came and picked the kid up before.
Yeah, it was not actually that bad when.
100 years ago,
Not that bad.
not that bad 100 years ago.
No, you see the list out here and it's like this long every night.
There's no doubt about that.
So then I think in the plan then to avert the perception that we're using this in that busing area, once in that area where it says 1 drop off, 1 pickup, that we should explain that this will continue even past this plan.
Well, this is the new normal.
Yep.
which will continue even after shifting to Plan A.
Yep.
Adopted with all plans.
Should I say
So does that help you, but,
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you guys all wanted to just keep going straight chaos, I mean, you can outvote me on that either too, but I mean, it's just, you know, to me, you know, like I said, it's chaos, it's a liability issue, it's, you know,
And convenience thing for some people.
yeah, and anything that's a convenience is gonna get abused in somehow, and that's what I said with the line, you know, if we have a line, it's gotta be a straight one, you know, and that's,
and I am glad you guys addressed the co-parenting. That actually,
Because to me, that was the hardest
That was the
one, to
hard
try and
one.
tell
Yeah.
somebody that, you know, you can only come from his house, you can't come from her
Yeah.
house, you know, I mean, that's,
And then
you
compare.
know, for us to tell them that, didn't feel like really was fair, but I didn't know how to really get around it either, to not make it fair for everybody else.
I'll get those cards made. It's all but, oh.
So I also put, please see permanent change stated in Plan B.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I like that.
Any other? We've addressed the change of the calendar, the
Thank you.
changes
Yes.
you got in there?
Okay, ready for a vote?
Because this will give us more flex time to get you 3 more days of flex.
Yeah, give us 10 days of flex time.
Yeah, so add some flex time also to the schedule.
And we're leaving it at, we're still gonna leave it at 5 days, make up 2?
Right.
Okay. That stays the same, okay?
Everybody clear on what we're looking to make a motion on? The plan and calendar. Who's gonna make that first?
I'll make a motion.
I'll say.
Second by Lori. Any other discussion? Lindsay?
Mike,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Brent,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes.
Chad,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
Brett.
Yeah.
Okay, and we got the North High School activities, guidelines and recommendations for sports. We gotta make some type of motion.
Well, what I'm guessing is, I think what we should do is decide, this group should decide, do you want to go ahead with sports? If you do, we'll turn it over to the extracurricular activity committee, and they will take care of the fine details.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Yes.
We'll vote on it.
I think we need a motion.
I make a motion, we go with fall sports.
Okay. We have
I'll
a motion
second.
To open fall sports.
Are you gonna add with any stipulations?
That's gonna be
That's
the
good.
extracurricular committee.
Is it? Okay.
Because the high school activities they got all the restart guidelines and all that stuff, and Tori's very familiar with it. She's been working all summer on this, because she's trying to get ready for whatever circumstances come for volleyball.
So
Stacy
she'll
and
be
I
at the meetings,
contacted,
right? Committee meetings?
so that they know what they gotta do in order to participate.
Okay, so if we motion, this is just opening it up, and then we're gonna vote on the recommendations for spectators and that next month?
We would have to, the extracurricular committee's gonna have to get together and decide on what it was gonna look like. Are we gonna
Limitations.
let anybody in the building? Do they have to wear masks? What are we gonna do with our ticket takers? Are we gonna do cashless? Are we gonna open
Because we
concession
talked a little
stands?
about, with concessions is gonna be almost a tough thing, because that's
Very.
I don't think
restaurant
you're gonna do
guidelines.
it. I mean,
It's
unless,
probably not gonna happen.
yeah,
And what we have are just guidelines.
yeah,
You know, you make the rules.
Yeah.
It's like you should do this or we,
yeah.
whatever.
But you have everything set up so that they can set up
For
however
every
they want
sport,
to.
every
Yeah.
activity, I should say, not just sport, for fine
Yeah.
arts as well.
Yep. And so I think we just need to give the go-ahead, if we give the go-ahead, the extracurricular committee takes it, and then they will make the guidelines and bring that to the board for approval.
So what,
So all you're voting on
All we
right
want is
now
to
is
open up fall
yes
sports.
sports, no sports,
Yes.
that's it.
his motion is to open up fall sports.
So I want a little discussion before.
Okay,
Well,
we
we
need a
gotta have
second to get
Now, is
that.
this just fall sports or all sports?
I seconded it.
Hold
Fall-
it.
Yeah,
Oh,
Do we want all sports?
Are you going all sports?
all sports.
Your recommendation for the high school activities, all sports, I mean, that was.
Correct.
Yeah.
For the whole year.
That's a whole
I
Correct.
year.
want to amend it then, I want
Correct.
all
Okay.
sports.
Motion is for all
Thank-
sports to
thanks.
open up.
I'll second that.
Rob is second. Discussion.
We had a meeting the other day, so that we came up that this was a new decision we have to make. So parents, we asked what their thoughts were, and their thoughts are, why are we doing all of this to keep everything safe if there's a possibility we want to open up a gym and let a lot of people?
And that,
Why wouldn't you, and so I want them to know what was said, so
Yeah.
if they're gonna go as a committee, that they thought that live streaming without anybody in the gym is what they came up with as made the most sense.
because there's a lot of things that are just allowing parents in.
They talked about that too, and they're like, you know what, as much as they hated that, they just think you almost have to draw a black line and fix
And I've heard a lot
Black
of,
line with
I've heard a lot of
parents.
that if you're gonna try to keep
Parents are gonna be there.
Yes.
your volunteers, everybody out of the school, why would you open that up?
Parents are gonna be there.
They had a discussion on NDCL today, and 4 or 5 schools spoke up, and I think they were all out west. And all they're going with is the recommendation of, is it 50 or 70% capacity, whatever's in the gymnasium. And then they're gonna give X amount of tickets. That's what they talked about, was each family gets 3 tickets or 4 tickets or whatever. So that way you're never gonna go over your percentage.
Jerry, can I just bug you? I know you're not on this.
Go ahead.
What have you heard from the other schools, they're talking about this?
So we haven't had a single school opt out that we're aware of sports of any kind. We have one school that's not starting until the end of September, school or sports. Or I keep saying sports, everybody thinks it's sports, it's also fine arts.
All
So we're talking
extracurricular.
about music and speech and
Yeah.
debate and all of that. But otherwise, we've heard they're allowing each player to have 2 tickets. Whoever they give them to, they give them to. It doesn't have to be parents, it can be whoever. We've had the capacity thing, as long as there's so many. One of the guidelines we have on there is cashless, which I just think is crazy for these rural schools. Like, you're expecting everybody to use their credit card when they walk in, is gonna be really weird. So I don't know if there's a way around that, but that's for a committee to decide. But it's been everything. In my office, I've learned in the last year of being there that the west part of the state is literally the old west compared to the east part of the state. I mean, they totally are. So they are full bore cowboys, we're doing this. And the east is like, you know, we're talking about our private schools and their BMWs in the parking lot. It's a little different. So as far as that's concerned, Fargo, I think, might be a little more strict, just as they are with school. I mean, look at the differences that their schools brought out for plans. But it's been a little bit of everything. It depends on the district. Totally, that's why they did this. That's why Burgum did use school decide, and that's why we did that. Our school is going to be completely different than even Valley City. Co-oping with them is still different, just because of their facilities compared to ours and their people. But I don't know how you keep people out of outdoor ones, but but I get it with the indoor. There's a lot of different ones. So
We got at least room for parents. We have a big enough gym that we could be 30 feet from another set of parents. I've got 4 years of this left and I'm not giving it up.
And that's a discussion too, because literally we went by district, and if you think about our district for, say, volleyball, everybody has kind of a big, the only one they said, you know, was Mid-Coda, but they're with Griggs County now, and that gym's big enough for there to be social distancing. So same thing, in just our school district, or I mean our district of play for everything, it's possible.
I haven't heard from any of our regional or district schools, but one of the recommendations high school activities gave was work with your local, the people you're gonna play, kind of in your district and region, and decide kind of some commonalities. Because if you come to BCN and you have to wear masks, but you go down to Lemoore and it's, you know, whatever you want, you're, you know, or Oak says you get 2 tickets, you know, that type of thing. So, but I haven't heard anything from our chairman, so I don't know where we're at on that yet. But that'll be something we'll have to.
I think it's a good idea. Who is our group?
Me, Rob, and Cindy.
Brent, Cindy, and.
Isn't there 4?
There should be 4. There's just 3. I think you only have 3 on there.
I thought
Is
you
there only 3?
Extracurricular is Rob, Brendan, Cindy.
Yeah, 3.
Rob, Brent, and Cindy,
Oh,
just 3.
three.
And are we going to have them be a part of those too? Tori, Shaver, or no? Just the committee, just you guys?
I would like to see them there.
Okay.
Well, I
If
think
they
you
did all
also,
this homework, I want their advice.
I think you also gotta bring in, since part of the guideline is on concessions, if you're gonna have concession people, I think they gotta be part of it. Because that's gonna be how you're gonna, if you're gonna run that or not gonna run it. I think whoever's gonna run, maybe
Well,
we're
that would
in.
be one person from Booster, right? Is Booster?
Jesse's the one that will.
Well, are they gonna have them every time, or who are they gonna?
No,
have?
what she said they're gonna do is they're gonna take a few and then they're gonna let everybody else.
Well, then you need people from them other entities.
And I
Well,
don't
maybe
know, I don't know who else we have.
Maybe we limit it.
It's whoever's needing
Yeah.
fundraising. You
Yeah.
know,
Yes.
they're obviously going to go to their activities
Maybe
before
we say
anything.
Booster takes them all to keep the restrictions the same and consistent and don't give them.
shares whatever funding they want, however they want to share it.
Maybe they just keep it. I mean, it wasn't dance took them all last year.
They did share.
They share it.
Well, yeah,
Oh, did they?
yeah, they,
There was a sign up,
from.
there was a sign up for that, whoever wanted to have a fundraiser, they signed up for that fundraiser, and that's how it went. So we don't know who the entities are necessarily.
Because I mean, if we're gonna be voting on that, maybe we're taking over control of that this year, and maybe we're just having the one concession stand.
Yeah, we could,
Because you're saying there's no
I
bringing
mean,
food.
elementary could always
I don't
use
think
more
so. I
funds.
don't think you're supposed to have anything homemade.
There's no homemade in this guideline.
Yeah,
So it's just basically.
It's probably we're gonna probably look at just having that one concession stand.
yeah, I would just do
Just
cotton
have a
candy.
pop machine and a water machine.
That's about what it's gonna look
So
like,
you
but
wouldn't
that'd
be
be
able
what
to
you
have
guys
popcorn
want.
either then.
So I don't think you need to bring anybody in for that.
No, if that's the,
People would have
if that's the way they're going with,
And I would think that,
Homemade, that would be
I
like,
don't think you have any, you can't do it.
nothing,
Nothing made.
Nothing made, no
Nothing made.
popcorn.
They could have pre-made, you can have bags of popcorn.
bags of chips or something, but it's all gonna be I mean, you're probably gonna run that would be part of your discussion you wanna look at, but we're probably looking at just running the small concessions.
I'm more worried, like what Rob said,
Mhm.
I wanna see my kids through the graduation.
Right,
Yeah.
So I'm not really worried about food.
no, but I mean, that's part of what you guys are gonna have to talk
Right.
about,
Well, and you're gonna have if you limit
people.
your people, you know, like the concession stand, you're gonna go through all that work to make $50.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it's not gonna be worth doing anyways.
Okay, let's vote and move on.
So your motion should be all extracurricular activities.
Yes.
Well, we're still on that same motion.
No second.
Still in discussion.
First, we're opening them up,
Lori had a
and
question.
then it'll go back to committee for the fine tuning,
For their specifics.
for specifics on. So the motion is to open up all extracurricular activities. Question also is gonna be, and that might be part of your discussion, what about club sports? Is that included in that or not? Maybe that's something you're gonna have to discuss with your,
we don't
That
have
That has
any
nothing to
say
do with our
over
school, does it?
sports.
if they're coming into the
But you
building.
do for facilities.
For facilities you do. So that could be part of their discussion that will come back.
Yeah, 'cause archery, we'd have to decide on the state archery.
So that's something they can talk about. Right now, we're just making the motion to open all extracurricular activities for this year.
Yep, for BCN.
Any other discussion on that? That's what we're voting on. Lindsay?
Mike,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Brent,
Yes.
Michelle,
Family engineering.
Michelle?
yes, Chad,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Lee, Cindy.
Yes.
I know,
Yes.
but we're saying open and I actually think.
So now that's approved, you're gonna open up. You'll get the committee together and they'll have something back for the 12th?
Well, let's see.
Because we'll have something going on after that.
I don't know if we're gonna know, well, I suppose we'd have to look at some dates. Because we gotta do this plan before the meeting.
Yeah.
Yep. Turned into 3.
When's the first
Four.
one
But he can
volleyball?
make the changes for that and send
Corey,
it
when's
out
practice?
to read.
Isn't football?
We start the 17th. Cross country is supposed to start
Then
next
when's the
Monday.
first home?
Volleyball starts,
No, football does next Monday, I think.
football's on the
10th.
31st is our first one.
10th, next Monday.
and volleyball's on the 17th.
I didn't know if we could.
Are you okay with us going through this, the three of us, making changes, send it to you guys, and then get together a committee to go through it, or?
That's all online.
The online, if we change this.
We would have to approve that.
You guys will have to approve it, but if we send it
But
out,
if we
do we
change
wanna
it-
get everybody together and talk about it, or do we wanna just have
What do you mean by
Danielle
every,
and
oh,
Jared?
the
Yeah,
group.
like the
Do we just want us to make the changes and then
Talk to
send
the
it out,
people on
and
the
you guys
group.
make
To our
recommendations?
online learning plan, we have to update that.
I would think you'd have some elementary and secondary teachers be part of that.
We
Well,
could.
we already have a plan.
Yeah, we got, the
just
plan
have
is we just need to
update.
update it.
And we talked about some of those, like
Right.
making Zooms required.
Right, but they weren't part of that one before.
No, that was, we wrote that, yeah.
Right,
With,
so my recommendation
to have
would be
them
to
be-
have them be part of that planning. I mean, that's
To me, I
coming
mean,
from the background of being a teacher, I
Yeah,
would have
but-
been, yeah.
and my concern is getting it all done before we meet, or before school.
I
Because,
totally agree, but I.
you need online learning. Just-
well, that was one of the reasons for pushing school back a week, because we
You
have,
have a leadership team, right?
yeah,
So couldn't that team get together?
yeah, it's just a matter of
As
getting everybody
teachers on
together.
it, so.
Yeah,
We could, yeah.
I mean, we're talking,
Something there for.
part of the athletic decision and then leadership, so set something and move forward.
Okay, so who we got, leader?
Jessica, Tina, Schaefer.
And then got the
Julie.
counselors.
Katie.
Yep,
I would just say everybody on, include Alyssa too.
yes.
for team.
So basically the same ones we want to call except the board members,
Yeah.
unless they want to come, I
Unless they
guess.
wanna do
We'll
it.
just tell you when we're meeting, if you guys want, a couple of you want to show up, you're welcome. And we'll go through this and make some changes, send it out to you. If we don't get it done by next Wednesday, then we might have to have a special meeting, but,
You guys are good, you have no worries.
If
well,
you
it took
don't,
us one day last time. Elsie heard it on Sunday night, and she started typing it.
if we
we
do
gave
need,
her-
if you do need a special meeting, that's what we'll have to do, but
Yes.
goal would be to try to get it done by Wednesday.
I'm sure I'll be working on it.
She'll start it tonight.
I worked on mine all day today.
So there you go, see, it's set.
See, no problem.
He's done with his.
In the Google Doc.
No. Pen and paper. Pen and
Old
paper.
school.
The old school.
Okay, so you'll get that group together. What about extracurricular group?
Yeah, 'cause now, so we'll bring that back,
First home volleyball game is August 31st, so it has to be
Has to be
done
done before.
before that.
I
We
would
have
say we
one
should have it done before practice starts.
Yeah.
It would be nice. Because then, I mean, we have to have a parent meeting and then everything's set in stone. This is what we're doing.
and that's the 17th.
Football boys are meeting on Thursday.
We start practice the 17th.
There's a Zoom meeting tomorrow night.
Tomorrow or Thursday?
Well, I thought it was tomorrow, but
It's Monday instead of Wednesday today.
Extracurricular, you three. Brent and Rob, what's your schedule?
I can't tomorrow, what a good Wednesday.
I
Wednesday or
don't know
Thursday?
that I'd want to plan an extracurricular before policy meeting because I have a feeling that one could go a while. That needs to be its own separate entity.
I agree with you, Cindy. I think that needs to be separate.
How about Monday, the 10th?
Townships. I can go 5, 6, and 11, if you wanna do it for the meeting.
You want all 3 nights?
I'm gone all.
Oh.
you have a township meeting every month?
How you could skip that? Orange.
What time's your township meeting?
7. We could do it in the morning.
I just want to play volleyball.
That's fine, hey, I'm open to meet, if we wanna meet. Rob, what time do you?
I start work at 7:30, I'd like to have a meeting at 7:30.
How does that work?
I'm good for that.
I mean, get out of here.
Not so he can miss work, just so he keeps the same routine.
Yep.
I don't have to get up any earlier or nothing, I wanna start at 7:30. I can do morning, can you do morning?
Fairly
Sorry?
flexible.
Rob?
Or he was
Well,
getting the
yeah,
girls up to
I mean-
practice at
Yeah.
6.
Unless we
They
have
were gone by
something
that
stupid at
time
work,
before.
but every other day I've been fine.
I'm fine whenever.
7.
Tomorrow morning?
Tomorrow morning? I can't.
Oh, I can't tomorrow morning either. I actually gotta go to work and do something in the morning.
So Wednesday morning.
Wednesday, we have a health meeting. Well, I suppose we could at 7, well, I have to leave here by 8:30. And only give us an hour.
It's gonna take you too much time. It's gonna take longer than an hour.
Then we got that health meeting and.
Thursday.
What night could you do it?
I can do Wednesday night, Thursday night, and next Tuesday night.
Was that, for anybody else, was that bad?
What's that?
The night ones?
At 6 is the parent football meeting, Zoom meeting.
So what about Wednesday?
Thursday.
Thursday, Rob.
What's the earliest you can do on Wednesday,
Wow,
like
that's
at
weird.
night? Severson,
Wednesday night?
yeah.
I suppose I could do it later. I mean, that,
Well, yeah, but like at
Oh,
4:30, or?
that's, I mean, whatever. But I just got a meeting at 9 in the morning, then I'm gone on Thursday, so I could do Wednesday night.
Can we do like Wednesday night at 4:30 or something? So it's, I get off of work at 4:30, we should have it at 4.
I get off work at 5, but I may be able to make an exception.
So Wednesday the 5th?
Yeah, Wednesday night?
That's like 2 days from now.
4:30.
4:30?
Put in your time off request, Rob.
Jeez.
Well,
There went the morning.
yeah.
Gosh.
Do that or work.
I usually just tell them I'm gonna be gone. But then somebody will want something sprayed or something that
So
day.
how long do you think that'll last? Because Sydney's part of the COVID team too, so if we can plan a meeting for that night to hammer out that other thing after your extracurricular one, that would be really awesome.
What do you talk about hammering out the learning?
Yeah, the online learning, we can,
Which you don't necessarily have.
oh yeah, we don't need them here, so can we do it during the day?
Yeah.
Do it during the day, Wednesday at 1. Wednesday at 1.
What's that?
Does that work?
It should be, I mean, I just got the 9 o'clock at health meeting. It's down. We should be done, I mean, I'm thinking last time was a couple hours.
Problem is, like tomorrow I
1
gotta go
o'clock,
spread
Mr.
fertilizer.
Wilson? 1 on the 5th?
Everybody else is driving truck. So I can schedule something and then all of a sudden I
I'm
gotta
pretty
do
sure I'm
that.
hoping to get that for you.
And we're not really able to like say no right now.
I know.
Anything else? that we- I think
Wednesday
that
night's fine.
We got, we have title training on Friday, and we got legal training on Monday in Valley City. Wednesday, school board meeting with special ed staff has an in-service in the morning on the Route 12. Yeah. Are you going to that, Mr.
Yeah,
Wilson?
that's me, because you're not able to.
I'm going.
Oh, are you, okay.
The title one is one I'll be at till 10
Monday training.
with Rachel Bruner Kaufman. Rachel Bruner. I thought I sent that to you.
You
We're
did,
still
because I
doing it.
replied that I would be able to go to it.
Can you resend
I
it?
think, well, because I think you
What's
weren't
that?
able to attend it because of something.
Oh, Icky, goodbye.
Monday morning at 10.
Goodbye, coach.
Yeah.
Trying to find it. I responded.
So I thought I sent it off.
I'm sure you did.
GR said he was gonna go. We're good? So 17th and 18th, we got in-service. Bringing in small groups, 19, 20, 21, 24, 25 are in service, and all kids back on the 26th. We'll get your schedules out, plans approved, we'll get the survey out in the morning.
And committee stuff, so we hopefully we'd have them recommendations back for their meeting on the 12th.
What's that?
Then hopefully we'd have those,
Yep.
both things back.
Yep, hopefully we got the online one and the extracurricular back.
For the meeting on
Get
the
it
12th.
on Wednesday and get it hammered out. And
Did you say when they're, spit it out here, when they have to reply by?
we haven't said, we haven't decided yet on the date. When do we want them back, Mr. Wilson?
For what?
For the.
If they're
gonna
just
go
online or not.
Oh.
I thought Valley City said they put the 12th.
Put 12, because then
No, the last day is the 14th after, because we need to set registration days too.
Yeah.
Because we changed that, it was supposed to be this week, and now we're doing the drive-through, so we have to make sure that they're registered.
You talk to the principals, they're gonna be delivering stuff, so. Call ahead and see if they can arrange that. Should come out with their little tray
So
and,
surveys will go tomorrow, and you think you're gonna want them back?
what do you, 14?
I say next Friday, by next Friday.
14? Mr. Wilson, okay with that?
Yep.
Okay,
Or if we do the 12th, that gives us time to call parents too.
So when would we want a bus route schedule sent out, not knowing who's coming until Friday the 14th?
well, you can send it up a week after.
that's why we moved to the 12th. I mean, is that-
Yeah, let's do the
I
12th.
mean, I don't think they should have a pretty good idea of what they're gonna do.
Let's do the 12th.
Okay, the 12th then we'll have it due. So then you got 13th and 14th to get your schedule out.
so they have to tell if they're coming and where they're stopping.
Bring you ice cream too.
If, the only thing they would have to tell us,
Is whether or not they're online or in campus, because their stop is going to be their house.
yeah, their stop would have to be their house.
And the split times just have to give us a schedule of when they're gonna be where.
And it'll be permanent for
Yeah.
at least that first day.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep them on task.
Gonna go to that shop this week.
He's always
I'm
very
gonna go to
good.
that shop this week.
Okay.
Sunshiny was the other day.
Nothing else? Next meeting, the
Danielle,
12th, we're adjourned.
Did you find it?